I'll do that. Give me a chance and I'll talk. I'm Rita McCannon. I'm an attorney in Huntsville, Alabama, and my colleague is
Tandy McConnell, and I was a professor of history at Columbia College in South Carolina. Y'all are Palmetto Academy, is that right?
Correct.
I was a professor of history here in Columbia for about 20 years, but then I decided to do something really interesting and became a middle school social studies teacher. Right now I'm teaching high school, but I spent a few years in middle school, and I am honored to be here with you guys. Where is Palmetto Academy?
It's actually in South Carolina as well.
Where in South Carolina?
Myrtle Beach.
Okay. Myrtle Beach.
I need to make a field trip to make sure y'all are doing good classes or something. I love that area.
I'm really curious. Where in Myrtle Beach? What?
I'm not really good with directions or areas. It's near Market Commons in Myrtle Beach, if you've ever been there.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Totally not relevant to the course, but for the class, but just wondered.
To our facilitator, I'm not seeing but one team member. Are there more?
There are. I can see both Gavin and Aiden.
Do you have it on the view on the upper right-hand corner? If you clicked on the view and gallery.
I have it on gallery. You know what I'm going to do? It may be something to do within the last round. I switched them to Spotlight because we had so many people. I'm going to switch them to Spotlight. You got them now?
No, but it's okay. I don't want to mess up the I can only see 6 pictures, and 4 of them are grown-ups. So actually 5 of them. So
there are only 6 pictures. They're 2 students. You can't see Gavin and Aiden?
I can see Gavin.
Well, I have Spotlight.
No, I see Aiden. I'm sorry. I thought he was a teacher. Oh, I apologize. I apologize. I would talk all day long and I'm using your time. I apologize. Let's read the question.
Would you like we will introduce themselves?
I forgot. Please tell us who you are.
I'm Gavin Zabadua.
I'm Aiden Hartwell. We go to, like we said, Palmetto Academy, and our teacher is Mr. DeCervo.
Glad to see you, and I apologize. We got off a little bit. Tandy, am I supposed to read the question or are you?
No, it's your turn to read the question this time.
All right. We're on Unit 2, Question 1. Alexander Hamilton said in 1780, the Confederation itself is defective and requires to be altered. It is neither fit for war nor peace. Do you agree or disagree with Alexander Hamilton? What were the strengths and weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation? What problems, if any, did the founders face in writing the Articles of Confederation? What impact, if any, did Shays' Rebellion have on the founders' thinking about government? And what is the significance of the Northwest Ordinance of 1787? You may begin. We look forward to hearing from you.
Hamilton's conclusion of the Articles of Confederation is correct. However, his quote is somewhat flawed. One of the main strengths was helping to hold the League of Friendship together through the Revolutionary War and negotiating the Treaty of Paris, which the Articles could not uphold, and contradicts Hamilton's argument. Another weakness is the federal government could not raise taxes to pay for a national army, which makes Hamilton both correct and incorrect with this assessment. Washington wrote many angry letters about the military situation. He said, "Our sick soldiers are naked, our healthy soldiers are naked, our soldiers who have been captured by the British are naked." Other weaknesses were that each state had more power than the federal government. The Confederation Congress had no authority over any person in any state. Congress did not have the power to collect taxes from the states or the people directly, and that Congress could make agreements with foreign nations, but it had no power to force state governments to honor these agreements. Congress had no power to regulate the trade among the states, and that some of the achievements under the Articles of Confederation, however, were a secured recognition of American independence by European governments, created executive departments to administer finance, foreign relations, and military affairs, and that Congress could establish courts for certain limited purposes, and created admiralty courts to hear appeals from the state courts. And these appeal courts between the first federal counts of the United States, and that the most lasting achievement of the Confederation was the Northwest Ordinance, 1787. Many founders became concerned that the government established by the Articles was inadequate, and that in 1786, Charles Pinckney of South Carolina proposed revising the Articles, and the next year, Congress approved a plan to revive the Articles that summer in Philadelphia.
You're on mute.
But even before this, the founders had faced many problems in writing the Articles of Confederation. In 1775, Benjamin Franklin had drawn up a plan for the Articles of Confederation, but it was not until after the Declaration of Independence was written that the members of the Continental Congress realized it would be necessary to set up a national government. Congress disagreed on a number of issues, including whether representation in voting would be more proportional or state by state. However, the British capture of Philadelphia had made the issue more urgent. Delegates finally formulated the Articles of Confederation, but the articles required unanimous approval from the states. The smaller states wanted other states to relinquish their western land claims, and Maryland was the last remaining holdout. In 1780, the British forces began to conduct raids on Maryland communities, and Maryland was urged to ratify the Articles of Confederation to gain French naval assistance, and were given further incentive when Virginia agreed to relinquish its western land claims. The Maryland legislature finally ratified the Articles of Confederation on March 1st of 1781.
Shays' Rebellion had a huge impact on the way the founders thought about the government. Shays' Rebellion, combined with the difficulties of raising revenues and regulating foreign trade, convinced the founders they needed a strong national government and to influence the ensuing debate that led to the drafting of the U.S. Constitution in the summer of 1787. George Washington wrote, "What a triumph for the advocates of despotism to find that we are incapable of governing ourselves." And according to Edward J. Larson, author of The Return of George Washington, the rebellion haunted Washington. It was perhaps an essential final straw in pulling him out of retirement to serve as president of the Constitutional Convention.
The Northwest Ordinance was the most lasting achievement under the Articles of Confederation. This defined the Northwest Territory and created a plan for its government, and would become the states of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, and part of Minnesota. This ordinance laid out the process by which a territory can move to statehood and guaranteed that new states would be on equal ground with new states. With existing states. The Northwest Ordinance stated that slavery would be prohibited from these lands of the Northwest Territory. It required new states to, may I finish my sentence?
Please.
It would require states to provide for education by setting aside lands that might be sold to fund schools. Thank you.
Thank y'all. How did the inadequacies, the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation impact the founders' thinking about a national constitution? What were some of the things that made the founders realize they had to have a different constitution?
Oh, wait, sorry, can you restate the first part?
I think you spoke to it, you addressed it. I guess I'd like to have a little bit more specifics, but how did the inadequacies of the Articles of Confederation impact the founders' thinking, leading to a national constitution?
Well, the failures of the Articles of Confederation, such as the Shays' Rebellion, which was caused, like I said, by the army not being paid, and the states individually had different tax laws and of the sort, so it made it very hard for them, even though they did cooperate, to have a collective benefit from each other, and therefore it led to poverty and destitution for a lot of the lower income and the farmers of the United States at the time.
I agree with my partner, Aiden. The failures of the Articles of Confederation was mostly that the central government had no power over the states at all, which led to events like Shays' Rebellion. So that's probably one of the biggest pitfalls when it came to drafting the Articles of Confederation. So when drafting the Constitution, the founders knew that they had to give the central government adequate power, but also make sure that to prevent it from becoming a tyrannical branch of government.
To add on to that, just a little quick thing. This would lead to the creation of the Federalist Papers that would advocate for ratifying of the U.S. Constitution.
So tell me about Shays' Rebellion. What happened in Shays' Rebellion? I know you told me the outcome pretty effectively, but what happened? Who was Shays and where and all those things? I'm just interested in the details here.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. Tell me about Shays' Rebellion. Where was it? Who was involved? What were the? You've told me the outcome, and but tell me, what happened there.
Well, Daniel Shays himself was an American soldier who fought in the Revolutionary War, and the reason why they actually rebelled was due to the debt crisis that the United States was facing that spiraled from the Articles of Confederation. Did him and a group of insurgents at Bunker Hill rebelled against the United States government because they were facing a debt because they were not paid for their service in the Revolutionary War entirely.
Okay, could you compare Shays' Rebellion with a similar event like the Whiskey Rebellion? And if you could do that, then how did the outcomes differ? And how were those situations different? If you were to compare Shays' Rebellion with the Whiskey Rebellion just a few years later.
Well, the Whiskey Rebellion, I could compare it to it as that was, I recall, related to a tax protest, correct?
Right. In effect, they're both tax protests, but go ahead.
Yes. No, I know. I was just making sure. Okay, so no, yeah, I could compare it to that as for both of those were that due to the actual people who were protesting against the taxes that were affecting them, such as the whiskey tax, which was the start of the Whiskey Rebellion, that you could compare them as it did financially affect the people who were rebelling, and that they, with the right to revolution, that John Locke and other founders and figures of the Enlightenment and philosophy and such supported their argument, and in the Constitution that was created allowed them to do so. And
how did the Whiskey Rebellion turn out? Did that turn out differently?
George Washington pardoned the rebeller, the people who participated in the Whiskey Rebellion, which could, sorry, I'm not a huge history buff like my friend Aiden, but which could be related to today's to recently January 6th, which could have been seen as a similar event.
And that's a really good point you make there. So do you think, I guess here's the question I was trying to get at, and do you think that because the Whiskey Rebellion took place under the Constitution, while Shays' Rebellion took place under the Articles, do you think that made a difference?
I believe that it did make a difference because under the Articles of Confederation, the central government had no power to pay to gain money to pay the soldiers, which was a major flaw of the Articles of Confederation.
Alongside that, with the end of Shays' Rebellion, did instead of the remainder getting pardoned, were they violently dealt with as it was an armed uprising?
Okay, thank you.
One more thing I'd like to add, because the article, because the Whiskey Rebellion took place while the Constitution was in place, the federal government had the power to stop the Whiskey Rebellion, which is another reason why the Articles of Confederation are inferior to the Constitution.
Exactly, great point there. I'll pass the baton on to Ms. McKinnon.
I've said so much, I've lost my track. Oh, thank goodness. Why do you think the Articles of Confederation failed to provide for an executive branch of government and a judicial branch? Can you answer that in about 45 seconds?
I think that the Articles of Confederation failed to set up an executive and judiciary branch that would even work, because the states themselves, even though they did cooperate, were very divided among themselves. And even when they, like we said, they relinquished their Western border claims to each other, it was still very tense and argumentative, which is the reason why the debt crisis somewhat happened, because they couldn't agree on it, as they had very different laws, like I previously stated. So if they were to set up an executive or judiciary branch, which I would go on to, that would be the reason why it would have failed, because they.
Sentence. Hey, finish your sentence.
The reason why it would have failed, because, like I said, they were just too divided to set up for a proper final decision on that would be beneficial to the states entirely.
Thanks. I thought y'all were very thorough. You've worked together really well. I really liked how you knew the two rebellions. You knew about the Northwest Ordinance. I appreciated y'all were the first ones who have mentioned the various states and the Maryland legislature, those kinds of things which states were concerned. I sort of was looking for also the fact that the tyrannical rule of Great Britain was one of the reasons that the Articles of Confederation left out a strong executive. But you knew the other things, and in fact, you did know about the difference in Shays Rebellion and the Whiskey Rebellion. That's not something that was really fair game, but y'all were good at what you were doing, and we can ask you things and kind of get you to think a little bit deeper. I'm really proud of what you guys did together. I thought it was wonderful.
Great job. Good, just a good presentation, good thinking, your analysis. So, you were able to think on the fly. Okay, Shays Rebellion, Whiskey Rebellion, and then you really put together a lot of the details in a way. Yes. You can see those, see how it comes together. It was just a lot of fun talking to you guys. Wish we had all day to carry on this conversation, but we got all these other schools. We gotta talk to them too. So good job, congratulations. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.